Hi, I'm Hub Arkush for the Chicago Sun-Times, chicagosuntimes.com, as we bring you our Week 3 Chicago Bears preview. It's prime time again, this time on Monday night, as the Bears travel to the Big Apple to take on the New York Jets. Now, both teams 1-1. Both teams got there in a very different way. The Jets, fairly impressive at home in their opener, a 19-14 win over the Oakland Raiders. And then things started to get real scary when they went into Lambeau Field last week and opened up a 17-0 lead. They were actually up 21-3 in that ballgame before they allowed the Packers to come storming back. Now, a couple things happened there. One, in the third period, they've got one of the best defensive ends in football in Muhammad Wilkerson. He's the key to that 30 front, probably the best three-man defensive line of any team playing a 3-4 defense. He got himself thrown out of the football game, and the defense started to struggle after that. But Wilkerson will be back and ready to go. The Bears saw a 3-4 in San Francisco last week. For 3 quarters, it was one of the worst offensive performances we've ever seen. The Jets are healthier in their 3-4. They're really good in the front 7, and they could give the Bears a hard time. Running the football is something that Mark Trestman has said the Bears must do better in general. He has said they must do it to beat the New York Jets. Could be a real struggle. They play the run well. Now, where the Bears offense may be able to exploit the Jets is you look at those cornerbacks, D. Milliner, Demetri Patterson. D. Milliner says he's one of the best corners in football. He hasn't played like it. They don't have a great matchup when you realize that they've got to cover Brandon Marshall, Alshon Jeffrey, maybe Josh Morgan's back, whether he is or not. Santonio Holmes will be in the Bears lineup looking for revenge. The Jets will rush the passer. They'll do it with the blitz. The Bears offensive line will be tasked, but if they can give Jay Cutler the time, the Bears should have a big night throwing the football against the New York Jets. We turn it around. The Bears' beleaguered defense. They were pretty good late on that last drive against the 49ers, but let's not forget they got outgained by 150 yards in San Francisco last week. The defense still has its issues, and we don't know what injury status is going to be. Concussion syndrome that Jeremiah Ratliff has to get through. Don't know about Chris Conte's shoulder. Sherrick McManus has become a very important special teams player and could even figure in the nickel, depending on how the Bears decide they're going to cover up for the loss of Peanut Tillman now that Kyle Fuller is a starter. All that said, Geno Smith is not a guy who should beat you in the passing game. What the Bears have to do is figure out a way to take away the run. Particularly, you start with Chris Ivory, and then you've got Chris Johnson, who's very dangerous if you're not careful. Geno Smith is not the threat or the read option quarterback that some people think he is when we talk about a Colin Kaepernick or a Russell Wilson, but he will do some damage on the ground. Can the Bears once again do what they did last week, stack 8 or 9 in the box, at least try and limit the run and dare Geno Smith to try and beat them through the air? They did bring in Eric Decker as a free agent receiver. They're okay in the passing game as far as their receivers. They're not particularly scary. This is a place where the Bears actually may have an advantage. That what this game comes down to is, can the Bears run the football, and can the Bears defense take away the running game of the New York Jets? Special teams have been a problem for the Bears. The Jets just average there. Bears have got to get better, but I don't think this one comes down to special teams. This one for the Bears should come down to those 2 running games. Be very interesting to see how they respond to their miracle comeback against the San Francisco 49ers. For chicagosuntimes.com, I'm Hub Arkush, and for the best sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, you want to stay right where you are on the web.